1999, the game Sega GT came out, and as mentioned in a previous video, this was a game of my childhood. Fast forward 3 years and we have Sega GT 2002. Now this was a game that I also played on the original Xbox. It was nowhere near as good as the original, but there were a few things in the game that made this game ahead of its time. But that's not important right now. What is important is that this game had some interesting cars. Now imagine that you're lining up on the start line and you see all the cars that are getting lined up, and then all of a sudden a car with a really cool name that isn't for sale in the game pops up. That car for me was the Dome Zero, a car that I'd never heard of, but I wanted immediately. Now, it is no surprise to the many people that are watching this video have never heard of this car. In fact, if you were to kick the back of this car under a door, it would hold the door perfectly well. It is a perfect doorstop. So what is the Dome Zero, and why have you never heard of it? Well, a brief history lesson. Back in the 1970s, there was a man called Minoru Hayashi, who formed the car company Dome. Now you may have heard of the car company Dome before, because they were also racing. They've been making race cars for a very, very long time. But in the 1970s, they decided to have a crack at making a road car. The Dome project was started in 1975 with the goal of producing sports cars using the knowledge gained from motor racing. The Zero was to be the first production car that they would make, but in very small numbers. And thus the Zero was first revealed at the Geneva Motor Show in 1978. But despite multiple prototypes and homologation efforts, the Zero was never approved for sale in Japan or overseas. And as a result, the production was not commercially viable, and the Zero never entered production. And thus here we are today, a retro-futuristic car with looks to stop a door from closing that never got made. And that to me is really sad, because this car is the epitome of a bedroom wall poster car. So why am I talking about this car and giving you a brief history lesson into my childhood slightly? Well, if you know me and you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll know that I like to spend my time browsing for new mods to play with in Assetto Corsa, either with my friends or by myself. So you can imagine my excitement when I stumbled upon the Dome Zero on a typical mod website, and so I had to try it out. Before we go any further into the video, I have to give a big shout out to Stitch Treble 6, who actually commissioned this mod and has made it possible. Through your doing so, you have brought back a load of great memories from my childhood, and until this point, I had mainly forgotten about this car. So thank you very much. Right, let's jump into the rig. I am geeking out so much right now. Oh, there it is. It doesn't look exactly how I remember it, but I don't care. This was the coolest car in the world for a little bit. For me, and I don't think anybody had even heard of it. I was a big Sega GT fan. So, do you know what? We're just going to have a little bit of a drive just to see what it's like around Shotoku. I should mention that it is, in real life, it is raining outside of the cabin. I don't know if you can hear that, but... So I should mention, this car wasn't particularly fast at all. It only had 140 brake horsepower. But it's just, if looks could kill, this is a perfect example. I'd say. Oh my goodness. It doesn't look the best model in the world, but I don't care. I'm going to fill the tank up, and then we're just going to go for a drive. I want to have a quick look around the car first. Oh goodness, you get a view like this. That's dreadful. This car looks like it's from the future, or it's someone's envision of the future. Obviously, it looks dated by today's standards, but I don't care. But they made this car. That is... It's roughly the shape I remember it. What a cool car that is. Look at it. So we have to, unfortunately, drive like this. That windscreen wiper is a bit nuts. I won't lie. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, oh, this is... Oh, no. Oh, turn! A bit more, please. There we go. So driving around with the proper yellow tint, this is... It looks horrible. I will be the first to say that there is no way that this could possibly be a good mod anyway, because this was an extraordinarily rare car, and I doubt whoever made this mod was an owner of one of these. Sounds pretty good though. Put my foot down and see what speed we can get up to. That's 80 miles an hour. Yeah, it's poor. It feels like the Noble, almost, the car that I drove in the last episode. Now you might be wondering why I've decided to bring the Dome Zero to Shotoku. Well, the car is Japanese. It is very Japanese, actually. And I don't think there is a more fitting place to drive it than here, to be honest. There is such little power. That's my foot flat to the floor there. So this car wasn't particularly great either, even in real life. It was slow, it handled like a boat, and it wasn't very practical. However, because this car is rare, and it looks as good as it does, today, you just simply do not care. It has pop-up headlights. What more do you need to know? I am curious though, what was the last car ever to be made with pop-up headlights? And how come no company has done like a nostalgia thing since? Like, pop-up headlights are the coolest thing in the world. For a car to be cool, it needs pop-up headlights. What a miserable night it is. We're approaching a very large stretch of road, so let's see what this car will do. It wallows around like a full-on sponge though, this thing. The suspension is very, very soft. You kind of have to guess how much steering input. Is it this much? No, it's this much. Dude, it revs. That's 130. Is there a turbo? Nope, there's nothing we can do. That's 134 miles an hour. 133, we're losing it, but we're going back uphill slightly now. So I suppose it's like a mile an hour for every horsepower that you have. I can hardly see where I'm going. The dazzle is insane. Go on. 126. We've got to get a bit more. I'm going to go back into fourth gear. I'm going to power shift it. Can we get to the magical 140 miles an hour? We're not at max revs yet. Oh, come on. My foot is planted to the floor. There's not much this engine's got. This engine doesn't have much more to give. I think this is pretty much as fast as it will go. 135, 136 miles an hour. Whoa. I just went over something. I don't know what I hit, but it didn't feel good. I am curious though, who else played Sega GT 2002? Because I had a very unusual copy. I had Sega GT, but it had 2 games on it. It was that and then Jet Set Radio Future. It was like a double game disc, and Sega GT 2002 was on it. That game, oddly enough, I believe was ahead of its time, because there was a thing in that game where you could buy used parts for your car to like tune it up. So if you wanted to risk having used parts on your car, you could buy them for a cheaper price. I'm not sure how it was with Gran Turismo and stuff like that, because I never played Gran Turismo, but sure, you could have used parts. But if you put a particular used part on and it failed, the car would fail. Like, the car would splutter out in smoke, the engine would fail, like the exhaust would drop off. I'd never seen a game do that since. I've never seen a game do that. And I remember putting something on this particular car, and the gearbox had just broken. So goodness knows what it was. And that's just got me thinking, like, what other unusual cars did Sega GT do that I remember from memory? There was this. There was a car called the Caspita. There was that Fiat 500R Bath as well, where it had the exhaust. Like, the exhaust coming out the back had to have the back lid propped open. I remember that car. Oh my goodness, did I just enter heaven? What happened? I can't see where I'm going. The glare is unreal. This car has got the performance of a lawnmower, but it is so crazy and so funky looking and so wildly retro futuristic. You can't not love it. And it just takes me back to when I was a kid playing Sega GT 2002. I love it. Anyway guys, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Also, check out my sponsors over on the left hand side of the screen there, from Fanatec, IMB and KGL. They provide for me all of the gear that I use and the sim racing merch that I provide. If you guys want to get your hands on sim racing gloves like these, then my affiliate link is down below. And if you want to get any of the gear that I use, like the Fanatec gear, then my Fanatec affiliate link is also in the description below. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next race. Have a good night, everybody.